Good evening. Before Galileo, popular wisdom decreed that the Earth was at the centre of the universe. Now we know that we're at the edge of our galaxy, a rotating spiral of hundreds of billions of suns like our own, each with the possibility of having planets that could sustain life. But if there is life, what chance is there of it being like ours? We only built the first internal combustion engine about a century ago. Is it possible that an alien civilization has managed to cross the vastness of the galaxy to our planet? Some say there is evidence that they have. Our first story tonight takes us to an area of Scotland which has become known as the Falkirk Triangle. West Lothian, a small industrial region in central Scotland. The locals are a down-to-earth breed, not the sort you'd expect to spin tall tales and leave themselves open to ridicule. But their community has been gripped by a most unearthly phenomenon.
Hey, look, it's a UFO.
I'm trying to get it focused. What do we do?
As I started underneath the craft, it dropped like a shimmering curtain of light.
I want the Ministry of Defence to send somebody in here now and give the people an answer.
Councillor Billy Buchanan is a popular local figure who's championed many causes, gaining a reputation as a man of the people. But even he was stunned when locals came to him with stories of strange objects in the skies.
Well, I started in 1992. I received a knock at the door one evening, and there was a friend of mine who I've known for a number of years. He told me that he had an encounter on the back roads of Bonnybridge. He couldn't describe the format of it because the light was too intense, but it was hovering above the road, it was soundless, and he watched it for 10 minutes and it moved off at incredible speed. I put a small news item in the local newspaper, and that's when it began.
This thing just appeared out in a farmer's field, and it was jumbo jet size.
Really luminous, bright, objects just sitting there. I was terrified.
Red, like right at the top, clear lights in the middle, and blue lights at the bottom, and they were all spinning.
It just looked like an oval red light. And it was just sitting there.
From there, the whole thing just snowballed. We had hundreds of people coming to the office or phoning us up to say we've seen things as well, and it became a sort of national story.
In the first week, I think I had about 400 to 450 either telephoning or coming to my door telling me that they had seen something.
One of the local residents keeping watch and logging claims of sightings was UFO researcher Malcolm Robinson.
Our society checked through various avenues open to us to provide a rational explanation to account for these UFO sightings. We checked firstly with the police. We also checked through various airports. Then we also checked with meteorological stations to see if there were release of any weather balloons that may have overflown the area. And lastly, we checked through the Ministry of Defence to see if there were any aircraft manoeuvres. Once we have checked through all avenues open to us and we cannot find a rational explanation to account for a given sighting, then obviously that particular sighting must be classed as an unidentified flying object.
The intensity of sightings is unbelievable. People call this the sort of Falkirk Triangle.
On July the 30th, 1994, Andy Swan, a 27-year-old cable layer with Scottish Power, had what he says was a close encounter.
I went up to the park to have a look at a lightning storm that we were having that night. I had noticed this object heading toward the school building. I was intending to come along and have a better look at this object from behind. As I was travelling along the road, I seen this object coming from the left-hand side. It came down so low, right in front of the car, so close that I thought I was going to hit it. And I had to put my brakes on hard to avoid it. And I got out of the car, and I watched this thing just coming over the top of me, where it just landed just above the field. This thing just suddenly, like a bug, it just shot up right across the top of me.
Author Stuart Campbell believes such sightings are merely tricks of the light.
The atmosphere is capable of producing suffusing mystical effects of varying types, and almost anything can be believed of the shape of such objects, starting with an astronomical object, a planet or a bright star. Very many of the distortions that cause people to see a UFO out of an astronomical object is the temperature inversion.
This occurs when a layer of hot air becomes trapped under a layer of cold.
Just as you see a mirage on a hot road in the summer, you can get a mirage in the sky due to these effects.
Tricks of the light or alien spacecraft, whatever they were, more and more UFOs were being reported all over central Scotland.
We headed out about 10 o'clock and just chatting away about general things.
What you said your radio was it, man? Tune it in, will you?
We went around this bend in the road heading towards Starbracks. Something caught my eye just above the line of the top of the windscreen.
What the hell's that? That thing there?
I never ever seen anything like it in my life. It was black in colour. It was like shiny. It had 3 parts to it. It was circular. I really panicked. I didn't know what to do.
Gary, for God's sake, drive! Drive through
As I
it!
started going underneath the craft, it dropped like a shimmering curtain of light. I braced myself.
As I went underneath it, the whole road and surrounding area just completely disappeared.
I'm like some in a void of blackness. I didn't know where I am.
I had the sensation that the car was lifting. Because I know for a fact the wheels weren't turning. I mean, there was no traction. All of a sudden, there was just a big burst of bright light. The car sort of slammed onto the road.
Gary, for God's sake, drive! Go, go!
And I ran to Katrina's house and I was banging like mad on the door.
Katrina, wake up! Gary was hysterical. He knows I've got 4 kids. There is no way that he is going to come to my door, pound on it, push me right out the road and enter the way he did. Something dramatically happened to him. He was blown.
They say the journey should only have taken 30 minutes, but took 2 hours. So how could they account for the lost time?
I'm an hour and a half missing out my life, and I don't know how or why.
Gary and Colin turned to regression therapist Helen Walters, hoping she might hold the key to explaining what happened on the road to Starbracks.
Hypnotic regression helps you recall the incident that you take them back to or around that time. And it brings to light what their problem is, to be able to handle it in their daily life and remove some of the fear.
Dark!
I just saw this thing coming towards me, these things.
Gary?
And I was just terrified.
What can you see?
Men!
And all I remember is just pure fear, absolute terror.
Can you see something, Colin?
He's near my face.
I mean, the next thing I can remember was like...
Don't want it near!
some kind of instrument coming down from my right-hand side.
Away!
With a long, long, thin needle. Straight into the centre of my eye.
Away!
Even under hypnosis, you could see my eye was pouring with water.
Could this be a genuine memory? And could the claimed abduction account for the missing 2 hours?
Hypnosis has been used many times to discover what people went through in some UFO experience. Unfortunately, hypnosis is a dangerous and flawed technique. People are regressed to the events that they think happened to them, but unfortunately hypnosis is rather prone to produce fantasy more than fact. And so fictitious tales emerge.
The story had a galvanizing effect on local opinion. It seemed everyone had a UFO story to tell.
The object just tipped over like that and basically swooped down over across our heads. And the first thing that I just thought of was point the camera up and just snap away.
Inspired by shots like this, others were busy scanning the night skies with their cameras and camcorders.
We were inside Country Park one night with my video camera and an object appeared in the sky which I knew wasn't an aeroplane. This thing was just sitting in the sky, hovering, and it grew to a small light and a brilliant white light.
It's pretty clear that Mr. McLeish, who was videoing an object he saw from Linlithgow, was videoing a strong image, possibly a mirage image of Jupiter. And he's got a pretty clear image of that on his video.
This video, shot above hills near Inverness, shows a number of brilliant objects dancing around the sky. They turned out to have been mirages of an aircraft which eventually comes into view. More difficult to write off, however, was an image recorded by Barry MacDonald and Jane Adamson.
Well, I just saw this bright light. I thought it was a helicopter at first, and I just kept, and then all of a sudden I says, oh, Barry, there's a UFO.
They're talking that.
Barry, I'm telling you, that is a UFO. I'm serious, it's a UFO.
It's a bright light.
Barry, that is a UFO.
When he wanted to pull over, I says, no, just keep going. And he says, no, we'll pull over.
We ran out to the back of the vehicle, opened the boot up, and the camcorder was lying there. So I dived in and I grabbed it. I was trying to zoom it in and whatever, it was, then I lost it a bit.
Look at the colours.
Look at this.
Trying to get a clear picture of it so people would believe me if I had it on evidence on tape.
It started off like around football, really bright, sort of tilted, went to its side, like saucer shape.
It was all a matter about, I'd say about 300-400 yards away.
It was just like above the rooftops, kind of the houses, and then all of a sudden it just disappeared.
For Billy Buchanan, this image, along with the other photographic evidence, was proof enough to take the fight for an investigation to the highest level. Earlier approaches to the then Prime Minister, John Major, and the MOD have been rebuffed for what the government saw as a lack of evidence.
We've had numerous videos, numerous photographs. We've had all these people that's came forward and given us their accounts of what they've seen. If that's no tangible, what do they need? Do they need some sort of flying saucer or something to land in the middle of Bonnie Bridge?
Me and Colin, in a court of law, we would be taken as two good witnesses. But because it's such a subject like this, it's looked on as if we're mentally disturbed or something else, and it's just no fair. We're only looking for answers like everybody else, nothing else.
What we are dealing with are low-level, close proximity UFO sightings, sightings above cars, above rooftops, and if that's not a threat to national security, then we don't know what is.
I'm writing a letter at this moment to Tony Blair, the new Prime Minister. I'm saying, you get in here and give us an explanation. Now, it might be a logical explanation or a rational explanation, but we demand an answer.
So far, Councillor Buchanan's extraordinary request for a government inquiry hasn't been taken up. Meanwhile, in the Falkirk Triangle, residents report that the number of alien visitors is still increasing. But then, of course, that includes the English tourists who've come up to see what all the fuss is about. After the break, the mystery of an elusive beast stalking the English countryside.